Welcome to cooking cheap, easy, and tasty meals. Today I'm going to make some chocolate crinkle kiss cookies. Now, I've made chocolate crinkle cookies, I've made lemon crinkle cookies, and they're really nice. But a chocolate crinkle cookie really is better if you put a Hershey's Kiss on top. And the nice variety of Hershey's Kisses that are out there give you a whole lot of options, from dark chocolate, milk chocolate, with nuts, whatever. Now, I'm just going to use the straight milk chocolate ones, but you could see the variety. You could put ones with caramel. You could put any number of them on top of the cookies when they come out. I'm going to start by making the dry ingredients for the chocolate crinkle cookies. 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup of unsweetened chocolate. This is cocoa powder. I think this is Hershey's, and I think I'm right at 3/4 cup. I think I ran out just as I got there. I'm going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt, a teaspoon of baking powder, and 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. The next thing I'm going to do is mix all that up. Some people add instant coffee to anything that they make with chocolate. I'm not much of a coffee fan, so I'm not going to do that. But you might want to experiment with that and see if that improves it. They don't add much, maybe a teaspoon of instant coffee. And it's supposed to bring out the chocolate flavors. Okay, I'm going to put that aside. Next, I'm going to make the wet ingredients. I've melted 1 stick of butter. What I actually had was 4 tablespoons of salted and 4 tablespoons of unsalted. If you notice, the unsalted melts at a slower rate than the other, which I find interesting. The butter is pretty well softened, so I'm going to go ahead and add the brown sugar and granulated sugar, and I'm going to mix those together slowly at first until I get the butter all broken up. The general idea is you're supposed to cream the butter and sugar to get the sugar coated with butter. That makes a difference in things that have a really fine texture, but cookies really don't seem to have that. So I have never been as concerned about getting it terribly smooth. And you may experiment and find that I'm wrong. But what I'm going to do now is add 3 eggs. And I'm going to do it different this time. I'm going to add the eggs to a bowl instead of adding directly. Some people are uncomfortable with adding the eggs directly. They're afraid they're going to get shells in it. And it very much depends on the kind of egg you use. If you're using an egg that breaks well, then it's not a problem. Some eggs just fall apart. Okay, I'm going to put 3 eggs in. Some people will tell you to put 1 egg at a time. I've never found that made a difference. I don't do it. If you experiment and find a difference, please let me know. But I've watched other people who just add 1 egg at a time. They say it's easy to mix, but frankly, look at that. It's pretty well mixed. Nothing extra. I'm going to make sure it's mixed well, which it is. That looks really good. Now to that, I'm going to add our dry ingredients a little bit at a time. Let's add about 1/3 of the mixture at a time. Didn't get it whisked together quite as well as I would have liked, but it's pretty well taken care of. So we just mix the dry mixture in slowly. Just get it incorporated. I'm not trying to over mix it. Just mix it in. Okay. And this is basically all there is to this cookie dough. It's a nice, rich chocolate cookie dough. Now, I'm going to clean off the beaters and then mix the rest by hand to make sure that I've got it all incorporated. I know your kids will want to lick the beaters, or you'll want to lick the beaters, but remember, eggs and flour are raw. And the odds of you getting sick are probably low, but they're still raw. And I don't know, the Food and Drug Administration, or whoever's watching food, doesn't seem to be as good at it. I think if you look, there's a lot more instances of food poisoning and things like that than there used to be. So, I'd be careful. But that's just me. You may know the source of your eggs, or you may know they're fine, and your flour. But being that all these come from factories, that it's hard to be sure exactly what has happened in. Okay, now, there's that. I've got to refrigerate the dough for a couple hours before we cook it. Put some plastic wrap over it. One of these days I'm going to get better at this. Maybe not. It could happen. There is the dough. It's ready to go. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for a couple hours. Okay, it's been a couple hours. And we're going to get these out. Roll them into a ball. I'm going to go ahead and set them on here. And then we're going to dip them into powdered sugar to cook them. Really sticky dough. May need to put it in the refrigerator for a little bit longer. Okay, that's our first 8 cookies. We'll start with that and see how they do. And we're going to put this back in the refrigerator for a while. Maybe it needs to cool a little more. But we're going to start with those. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take these and dip them in powdered sugar. Roll them really good in powdered sugar. That's going to make the crinkle stand out. But I think they'll cook fine. Add a little more powdered sugar back to the ones that didn't seem to be showing it as well. We'll stick this in the oven and cook them for 15 minutes. I'll see how they do, see how they spread. Here's our first batch of cookies, and despite the difficulties because they were so wet, they came out pretty well. So the next step is put a Hershey's Kiss right in the middle. Just shove it in there while they're hot so that it'll melt into it. Then we're going to let them rest for a little while, and then I'm going to put them on the rack to cool. I'm going to make more cookies. Now, I'm going to wet my hands. I think I'm going to put a little bowl nearby with a little water in it so that I can wet my hands while I'm doing this. Because the cookie dough is sticky. So let's get, we'll throw it in here and really get this mixed in with the powdered sugar. Get a good coating of powdered sugar over it. It's so sticky. A little water on my hands will help. There we go. I'm going to put the dough back in the refrigerator, but I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven. Okay, here we have our batch of cookies. I'm going to take Hershey's Kisses, shove them into each cookie while they're hot so they'll melt into the cookie. Just a little extra chocolate. You can't go wrong with a little extra chocolate, can you? And I'm going to let them cool for a little while, then I'm going to put them over on the cooling tray, and we should be able to get one more batch. I did taste the cookies, and they taste really good. And here's the last batch. Put the chocolates in so that they'll melt into it. And there we go. And that's the end of that batch. I'm going to take these last few cookies off the cookie sheet. My daughter got me this, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but it's turned out to be a terribly useful tool when you're making cookies. All right. They're the last of the cookies. So I am going to stack them up and see what we've got. So there we have it, 25 chocolate crinkle kiss cookies. Actually, there's 23 because 2 of them have gotten eaten somewhere in this process. But they're really good. You could cook them a little longer if you want them to be a little less tender. They're very cakey, but they're crisp on the outside and soft on the inside. And the chocolate kiss really adds to the flavor. So I hope you enjoy them. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and give us a like. Thank you.